Okay, I'm going to show you how I etch my logos onto my knives. So what you'll need is the following: a negative of your logo, and you need to make sure that there's no scratches on the black parts of it. Everywhere the UV light will pass through will etch on the blade. So you can hold it up to a light source, if it can focus, and there's a little pinhole, you'll see it next to the S, so you can just take a Sharpie and just close it off. And then you'll need positive 20 photoresist spray. You're going to use caustic soda for the development, and the recipe is on the back of the can. So you'll use 7 grams of caustic soda to 1 liter of water. When you use it, and if it's too strong for you, you can just add some water, or if it's too weak, you can just add some caustic soda to that. A hair dryer, if you don't want to wait 24 hours for the Posi 20 to dry. Cotton wool, earbuds, cold water saturated with salt, water to rinse the caustic soda off. Any type of UV light source, you can use the sun. You're just a bit screwed if it's a cloudy day, so I used to use the sun, but this works pretty well. Then you will need some sort of 12 volt power source or power supply. This is an old power supply from a PC. What I did was just take all the black wires and all the yellow wires, that's 12 volt, and on the inside, so open it up here, on the inside there's there's 2 wires coming out here, 2 purple wires, and you'd have to join that. I joined it and I put it back inside, and that is for the switch that you would have on the front of the computer. So now you don't have the switch, so you just tie that up. This specific one's got a little bit of a switch at the back here, so it's easy to operate. And then what else? I think that's it for now. I'll show you how to use all of this throughout the video. So I like to etch my logos during the day, so if you switch off the light, it needs to be done in the dark room. This photoresist spray will start to develop when any UV light source gets into contact with it. So I do it in my workshop. I've got some windows there where natural light comes in, so that I can still see what I'm doing, but it doesn't affect the Posi 20 spray. You can do it at night. You just need to be clever then with how you work with your light source, or maybe you can put on a lamp and turn it away. Although this is not a UV light, it will eventually affect the Posi 20 spray, especially if it is an LED light. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to clean the blade with, I just wash it in sunlight liquid a couple of times. I'll make sure it is squeaky clean, and I'll eyeball it from the side, make sure there's no dust particles on the blade. It'll also create small little pinholes and it'll screw up your etch. So then what you do is you just about 20 centimeters away from the blade, you just lightly spray it. I can't show you on the camera, but it makes like small little waves on the blade. So what you need to do now is just let it sit like this. It'll self-level and even out. You want it as even as you can get it. This is a critical part. If you have any speckles of dust on there, you stand a chance of creating small little pinholes when you apply the caustic soda. So I normally let this just sit for about 5 minutes. also like to, once it's leveled, I just give it another little spray just to make sure that it's thick enough. Okay, so once this is leveled, you won't see any ripples on it anymore. I don't know if you can see that. It looks pretty smooth. The next step is to dry it with a hairdryer. So they say the best results are achieved at 70 degrees Celsius. I don't know how hot hairdryer gets, but if you put it on the warmer setting, it works pretty well. The blade actually get pretty hot that you almost can't touch it. You just literally keep the heat on it for 15 minutes. Okay, so once you've watched paint dry for 15 minutes, you're gonna stick on your logo, and the trickiest part is to get that straight and squared. Otherwise, when you take it off and it's not straight, you have to start all over again. So I just I cut the logo, or the transparency film a bit bigger on this side of the logo. So on the top corner it's pretty close to the logo, and the reason for that is when you stick it on the blade, you don't want it to create like a lift up, create a cup like effect, because if the light somehow manages to come from the side, if it's not flat on the blade, you'll get what they call shadowing, so it won't have a clear and crisp line around the logo. So you want it to be flat on the steel. So I just stick that as close as I can without covering any part of the logo, and then you eyeball it until you think it's straight. And then you just stick it all around. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to make sure that there's absolutely no light that penetrates, and I found that the masking tape does let through some light. So what I do is I then take some insulation tape and I stick it over the masking tape. The reason I'm using masking tape and not the insulation tape straight off, the residue or the glue on specifically this blue masking tape doesn't leave any residue, or very little, compared to the masking tape. And I found that this glue sometimes causes some issues once you start using the salt solution. So I cover it like that, and then I just straight over the top. I use this just to block out any light that could possibly go through. The trickiest part is to make sure you don't cover any of the logo. Okay, so there you go. Now you can get the UV light and develop the logo onto the Posi 20. Okay, so the most important thing with the UV light is you want to make sure that you expose it to the UV for long enough for the Posi 20 to develop. If you do it in natural sunlight, about 40 seconds I find is good enough. This has got a timer on for 90 seconds, 90, and I do 2 cycles with this, and I find that works good. So I'll just stick this thing underneath there to keep the light on. Oh, and another thing is you don't want your light to come from all different angles. You want it to be 90 degrees with your work. So what I've done with this thing is it's got this dome shape, so it's got LED lights all over, so I just masked them off, and the only light is this one in the middle to ensure that it's straight from the top. So then all you do is you just chuck in the blade, and then you'll see this machine's got a little counter, and I do 2 cycles of that, 90 seconds each. Okay, so next up you're going to need your caustic soda, water, earbud, and you just dab the earbud in the caustic soda, and you don't really touch the earbud on, you just let the droplet fall on the blade so that it's got some surface tension, so it doesn't run anywhere. Patience is a virtue, but I don't have patience, so the caustic soda solution is pretty strong, so I don't leave it in there for too long, and then I just rinse it off in the water, so you can't see that, but I do that twice just to make sure that all the developed Posi 20 is off. Okay, I think that is good enough. So you just want to make sure your blade is dry, especially if you're working with carbon steel. The blade's already etched, so I'm not too worried about it, but just keep it dry in any case. So what you need to do now is you need to inspect and do a thorough inspection to see if there's any pinholes created on the edge of the logo, or if there is any shadowing that occurred during the development. I don't know if you can see that. It seems to look good. Once you've completed your development of your logo, you can go around, check it to see if there's any pinholes left or made with the caustic soda. You can then take a Sharpie and just close it off, any marks that you've seen. This is a point of no return. If there's any pinholes or any shadowing that occurred during the development or the transfer of the logo, it will etch in your blade and you will have marks around it. It is almost impossible to get rid of or to fix it, other than grinding the blade thinner. So take your time, double check, make sure that everything is 100%, direct and you don't have any holes where you don't want it. So what you do now is you take your positive terminal and you put it on the tang of the knife, and then you take an earbud and you take some cotton wool and you wrap the cotton wool on the earbud from tip to tip. You then soak it in the salt solution. Want to make sure it's thoroughly wet throughout. You then take your negative terminal and you clamp it on the back of the earbud. So the reason for doing this is so that you don't bring this terminal close to the blade. That can also cause some pitting or shadowing around the logo. It's just a precautionary measure. So what you do then, before the power supply is on, you just dab on the, not like that, that's too much. You literally want to get a drop on the logo and let the surface tension sort of let the droplet stay on the logo, only on the logo. You don't want it to run anywhere else, as the electricity will pass through the water and etch wherever it gets into contact with the steel. So and then when you etch it, the cotton wool doesn't touch the steel. It literally you just touch the top of the water droplet. Try and bring it closer so that this thing can get in closer. Okay. Switch on the power. Water got soaked up a bit there, so I just switch the power supply off, get the droplet where I want it again, switch the power back on. You want to make sure you cover the entire logo, and I do this for, I don't know, about 20 seconds around there. Got a bit of a gut feeling. You can always do it more. So what you'll do now is to just check how the etch went. If you look at it from the side, you can actually take your finger as well and feel that it's actually recessed. And that seems to be looking pretty good. I don't know if I can get it to show up on the camera. So So the previous steps up to this point is the same. So you can either then choose to do an electro etch or just do a ferric, just do it with a ferric chloride. So what I do then after that, after I'm happy with that etch, I've got a little bottle of ferric, and let's just get my water right here. So I just put a drop of ferric on there. Just to give it a smooth, even tone. Just leave it on there for a couple of seconds. Rinse it off in water. You'll see it's got a very nice even black tone with the ferric on there. I tend to buff the blade quite a little bit more throughout the assembly or the fitment of the handle and final cleaning, etc. So it doesn't stay that black, but it actually, if you buff some of the oxides off from the ferric, it actually leaves like on the edges of all the grooves, it leaves a little darker line, so it actually makes the logo pop a bit more, because the blade is etched. You know, you want some contrast on between the blade and the logo, and that sort of gives that to you. So yeah, now all you do is you just clean it with acetone, and that's it.